Panawn Thar, a very good afternoon, one and all, and welcome to Match Day Live. Wrexham up against Blackburn Rovers this afternoon. We're back at the Stoke Kairas just 3 days after that excellent victory over Bristol City, as Wrexham try and do something they haven't yet achieved this season, and that's pull off back-to-back league victories. Well, the man with the opportunity to mastermind that is alongside me, Phil Parkinson, Wrexham manager. Thanks for joining us on Match Day Live this afternoon. Very quick turnaround from midweek, Phil. What are your thoughts looking ahead to this one?
Yeah, it's great to be here at home and quick turnaround, but I feel we've recovered well. Had a good day Thursday, particularly for the lads who hadn't played on Wednesday, and a decent day yesterday as well.
Now, when we chatted post-match against Bristol City, Phil, we talked about the possibility of you rotating a bit today because of the short turnaround. Matty James comes back into midfield for George Dobson. Lewis O'Brien in for George Thomason. Otherwise, the same team who played midweek. Just talk us through that.
Yeah, I just felt that Dobbo and Tomo had given us so much the other night, and we've got two really good players in Lewis and Matty to come in. Obviously, we brought Sheafy off in both the last two games, so he hasn't quite got as many minutes in the legs as those two. And just a little bit change in the dynamic, really.
Blackburn Rovers very good away from home this season. They've struggled at Ewood Park. What sort of specific challenges are you expecting them to present?
I think there'll be 5-3-2, similar to what they've done on the travels. I don't think it's been a major tactical shift away from home. I think what you've seen happen is they've gone into away games on the back of a home defeat, responded. Maybe teams have taken them lightly. We certainly won't be doing that today. They've got some good players, and they work very hard. Particularly on the travels, they've almost caught teams out with their energy and the work rate, and we've got to be ready for that, to match that. Today is about matching the work rate, being physical in all the duels, and coming out on top in those, and then letting the football take care of itself.
I know you'll always be ruthlessly focused on the next match, Phil, but coming into this one and sitting in the top half for the first time this season, it must give you and the staff and the squad a terrific feeling that you're really finding your feet now at this level. Yeah,
there's a good air of confidence about the lads, and which is great to see. We're building, and we're enjoying it. It's great to be back here today, and can't wait for a cracking atmosphere. And it's a good opportunity to go now into a free week, and it's nothing left out there today, boys. Come on, we need everything.
Phil, thanks so much for joining us. Hopefully we'll catch you post-match as well. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson giving us his team news for this afternoon's match against visitors Blackburn Rovers. Two changes then from the team deployed in midweek against Bristol City. Matty James returning in midfield in for George Dobson, and Lewis O'Brien steps back in for George Thomason. Otherwise, all those who started in midweek retain the jersey. Josh Windass has had a bit of illness, but he is fit enough to take his place on the bench, and Ollie Rathbone, continuing his return from injury, again is a substitute. No substitutes here on Matchday Live this afternoon. We've still got our favoured front two of Andy Morell and Mia Roberts. Good to see you both.
And you, Chris. Good to be here.
It's nice, Mia, isn't it? Coming off the back of 4 home wins on the bounce. The first few weeks of the season were a bit testing here, but now this is starting to feel a little bit like the last 2 seasons in terms of a real fortress for teams to come and play in.
It certainly is, and I think now everyone's sort of looking at that table, and you're looking above at the other teams around us, and sort of looking at those sides who have managed to get more points than us at the moment. I think it's only Stoke that have actually beaten us out of that top sort of 10 or so at the moment as it stands. So it's quite exciting, and I think people are sort of saying it a little bit quietly at the moment, but I think there's certainly an excitement, and suddenly a bit more confidence starting to grow.
Andy, we thought there'd be changes in the centre of the park from midweek, and 2 of the central midfield 3 stepping out today. How much disruption will that cause, do you think, in terms of some of the rhythms that have been starting to build in certain pockets of the pitch? Or will it be the case that the players are used to each other enough from training and different combinations this season that we shouldn't see too much difference?
Well, I think in my day, if you got left out after you'd won one, drawn one, or you'd be really disappointed. But football's different these days, and this rotation and energising your midfield and keeping everybody fresh is certainly something new to me when rather than when I used to play. But I think the players are used to it, and I think it's looking at the midfield, the three that played over the last 2 games, I think he has just looked at it. They've got O'Brien to come in and freshen it up. They've got Matty James ready to go. Let's just put them in, and it doesn't change anything. The tactics will be the same. The messages will be the same. It's just 2 different players that have got an abundance of energy and desperate to do well, which is what you want.
And Lewis O'Brien, of course, a couple of years ago was perilously close to being a Blackburn Rovers player, almost signed on transfer deadline day, photographed in the Blackburn kit, and then a bit of admin didn't get done by midnight. He never walked through the door as a Blackburn player in the end and ended up going out to America to get a bit of football. So he might have unfinished business, you'd think, running out against Blackburn.
Yeah, well, mentally that hurts, I think, because when you get to that situation, your mind's already there, you're moving, you're looking at houses and all that type of thing. You think it's done and ready. When it doesn't happen, it must be so difficult mentally to do it. Yes, Colorado probably helps for 6 months in your life. I don't think that's a bad place to end up. But you talk about sliding door moments in careers and things that do go and don't go. That's one that maybe didn't go his way, but it's opened the door to here, and he's certainly taken those chances, and I'm looking forward to him being in that midfield again, because I love the way he gets forward and creates himself a chance. I'd just like him maybe to take a couple more than he has done.
And Mia, this Blackburn side this season, a bit of a curate's egg. They've really struggled at home but have been good on their travels. But 8 players from the Rovers first team squad either ill or injured today, a very young bench. Looking at that lineup, Wrexham, despite Blackburn's away form, will surely fancy their chances.
Yeah, I think it's a great time to play them. Obviously, we know their away record is superb, second best in the league away from Ewood Park. But like you say, they're missing, quality first-team players. All the ones that are injured would go straight into the starting 11, and, that's a huge blow. And they're also, big characters and leaders as well in this team. So they've certainly missed that over the last few weeks. You can see that in the form, how they've, maybe managed to pick up a point or 3 and then just not been able to follow that up. So, that's clear for all to see. But it's certainly an interesting side still. And I think me and Andy were talking about it before. When you've had this many knockbacks, I think it builds you as a team, and you want to prove people wrong. So I think they'll be coming here today, with something to prove.
Well, a man who retains his place in the Wrexham starting 11 today is Dan Scarr. He's come in that central centre-back position over the last few weeks and helped to achieve 4 consecutive clean sheets. We're going to have a look at Dan up against Andre Gudjonsson in today's head-to-head, because Gudjonsson is the Blackburn centre-forward with 4 goals to his name already. The son of Ida Gudjonsson, who starred, of course, for Chelsea and Barcelona. He's been in decent form this season, but Andy Morrell, the form of Dan Scarr since he's come back into this side, nothing short of sensational.
Yeah, absolutely, and I spoke about him on Wednesday night after the game, about how it just showed huge professionalism and a great mentality to the situation he was in at the start of the season, pre-season, coming into the season, and then the opportunities arisen that he's got into the middle of this back 3, and he has just grabbed it with both hands. He's thrown his body in the way of footballs when they're flying at his goal. He's brave, and his distribution has been really good as well. When he's got on the ball, he's just kept his game simple. He passes it either side of him, and he's done his job. And great credit to him, because he's probably looking at the start of the season and seeing a lot of 6 or 7 lads ahead of him in those positions, and he's just taken his opportunity, and long may it continue, because I love seeing that type of story where you've dug in, trained hard, and got your opportunity and taken it.
I remember last season, Andy, it might have been at Blackpool, and we were talking about the players who hadn't had many chances last season, and you said you'd seen it in your own career where teams had a player who they didn't pick very often, got promoted, and then that player plays more, the level up. We're starting to see that.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's sort of coming to fruition as well. He played the last few games of the last season where it was really important and the pressure was on, and he coped with that, no problems. And again, it's that mentality of, I'm going in and I'm staying in, and he's had a setback again this season with the 3 or 4 new boys coming in, but he's gone again, and like we said, you step up that level, and it's the other ones, the fringe players that take these opportunities. And you can't, if Phil Parker, if he dropped him, it would be madness. Do you know what I mean? The way that he's playing. And so you just run with it, and good luck to him.
Yeah, Callum Doyle having to be patient to get his opportunity to come back into the side. He's on the bench again, the man signed from Manchester City this afternoon. Well, we talk of Dan Scarr and Wrexham's defensive solidity. That was on show again in midweek when Bristol City came to the Stoke Kairas, sitting in 6th position, but they returned on the long trip to the southwest with nothing. Let's have a reminder of how this one went. 4 straight wins then for Wrexham after that 2-0 victory over Bristol City in midweek. Nathan Broadhead's 5th of the season, and a second that was finally credited as a Radek Vitek own goal, although George Thomason played a major part with that wicked in-swinging corner. Mia, would you say the first half an hour on Wednesday night was perhaps the best Wrexham have played all season?
Yeah, I think it's definitely up there. I think obviously the Coventry game's going to get the headlines for a long period of time if they continue how they're going, just because of how well they're doing, and no one really expected Wrexham to put up much against them on that night. But I thought that first half an hour on Wednesday was fantastic. I thought the intensity they started the game with, considering you're coming up against the Bristol City side who are known for starting games quickly, to suddenly turn that on them really and do it here as well, as we know we can do. And I thought the atmosphere was brilliant as well from minute one, and obviously pre-match as well, and that helps his team so much. But yeah, I thought they were brilliant, played some really good stuff, obviously had a number of chances. Nathan Broadhead started the game brilliantly. I thought that was a real good look into his potential in a Wrexham shirt as well.
And Andy, in terms of reflecting on the run that Wrexham are on, we talked about this win-draw run with winning the home games, getting the draws away. You made the point in your programme notes today, the one thing they haven't managed to do is put back-to-back wins together. Will that be a psychological aspect for the players, or is it not something that really lingers for them?
I don't think it'll be an aspect, but I think it's certainly something that the players and the management will have looked at and gone, right, that's our next step, if you like. We're drawing away, which is good at times. When you go into places like Ipswich, you're getting results there. If we can win our home games, great, but can we go back to back? Because you've seen how tight the table is. You're looking up 2 points to the playoffs, but if you look over your shoulder, you're 2 points from 16th as well. So we're right in that mix of a load of teams, and if you can go back to back, and we've seen it with Sheffield United, they've won 3 games on the spin, and they're right in there with a shout now.
And Southampton.
And Southampton the same. So that's what I think. If you can go back to back with a couple of those wins, it catapults you up the league, and it certainly looks a little bit different.
Well, the man in the dugout from Blackburn Rovers trying to stop Wrexham going back-to-back with home wins today is Valerie Ismail. And let's have a little look at how Phil Parkinson and Frenchman Ismail square up from their managerial records. Both managers with lots of experience. Ismail has managed a number of clubs at this level. Came into Blackburn last February when John Eustace surprisingly moved on to Derby County, leaving Blackburn in 5th spot. Parkinson's career record, of course, there are 1,045 games across all his clubs. Ismail with actually a better win percentage over a career, but 2 managers with certainly a fair amount of experience. Parkinson, though, with the greater quantity. What's been your reflections, Mia, on Ismail's career? Because he's moved about a bit around the Championship.
Yeah, and you sort of feel a bit silly saying how experienced he is when you look at, Phil Parkinson's 1,000 games. I think it sort of makes that look quite small.
Like he's an apprentice.
Absolutely, yeah. But no, he's certainly been around the block. He's managed some really big clubs in Barnsley, West Brom, Watford, and, had some real good successes. And I think, like you say, coming in for Eustace at the time he did, that's not easy. And you look at this Blackburn squad now, like we say, he hasn't got an easy job on his hands, obviously really struggling at Ewood Park, struggling to get bums on seats at home. And, it's a really tough ask really for a club that many people were probably surprised to see in the situation they are in. But I think he's got some good players there. He's just really been very unlucky with injuries. I think he's obviously adapted that sort of style so far this season, going from that preferred 4-2-3-1 to now that sort of back 5. So that's had to change things, to try and facilitate the injuries he's got in that squad. But yeah, he's got a tough ask, but he's a top manager, and I think they should get through it.
Andy, we're going to hear from Kevin Gallagher, Blackburn Rovers legend, shortly in the show. But as Mia mentions, bums on seats, hard to find at Ewood Park. Only 11,000 there for their defeat to QPR recently, which will get here today and would get many more, I'm sure, if the capacity was more. It must be difficult for Blackburn fans to get a sense of perspective, because having won the Premier League 30 years ago and been Premier League mainstays for years, they now look like a side that are struggling to maintain it in the Championship.
Yeah, and they're a club that are trying to find a way of sustaining their Championship status, if you like, and then kicking on. And how do you go about it? It's probably your recruitment and where you're looking, and they've got a fair few players from Norway, and there's a couple of Japanese lads in there as well, and so they're looking further afield with their recruitment, which is probably the only way that they can sustain where they are at the moment, and hope that a couple of those come off and maybe catapults them up the league. They are a Championship team now, it looks like, and and they're fighting against a lot of teams that are heading and coming and charging up the leagues as well. So it's a difficult thing to get them going, but you win a couple of games and you get that, it'll change, the sense changes. Like Mia, I reiterate what Mia says about their injuries. The spine of their team is pretty much decimated with injuries. They've got illness in the camp as well. So you're fighting these things as well as trying to stay and compete in this league. I think that they'll be fine if they get a couple of wins. They need to win at home, obviously, because that keeps the fans in. But winning away, doesn't matter how you get the points, you pick them up anywhere you can. If they can win a couple at home, then I think the fans start coming back and you're looking up the table.
And Blackburn, of course, with the second best away record in the division, so not to be taken lightly at all this afternoon. Well, it was just under 2 years ago that Wrexham last squared up to Blackburn Rovers. At the time, we were flying high in League Two, Blackburn in the Championship as they are today. And Wrexham made the trip to Ewood Park for an FA Cup tie, having bloodied the noses of Sheffield United and Coventry City the previous season. Could Wrexham go to Ewood Park and spring a surprise? Here's a reminder of how that one played out. A heavy defeat that night then at Ewood Park for Wrexham. No FA Cup heroics on that occasion, but 2 years on, these teams find themselves playing at the same level. Mia, you were there that night at Ewood Park, and it's an indication of how far Wrexham have travelled that tonight these two teams square up in a league fixture in which Wrexham probably start as favourites.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, it's one of those games that you were looking at this season going, oh, well, that could be a tasty one, especially after that FA Cup game, which, like you say, I was at in that away end with my dad, and it was a cold one. That's one of the most things I remember from that night. But I think that, you know, looking back at it and looking to now, it shows the gulf in quality. And I think that night you saw, I know we were only League Two at the time, but you saw the difference in League Two to a Championship side. You know, seeing players like Sammy Schmodix, who was just, you know, unbelievable. Tyrese Dolan, Gallagher scored as well. And yeah, I thought, you know, I know we went 1-0 up, but it was a really, really tough ask for that Wrexham side. But also great to see, you know, Arthur in that side, James McLean in that side, Max Cleworth in that side, obviously Andy Cannon, who we hope to see back soon as well.
Andy Cannon getting the goal for Wrexham that night. Andy, and great to hear Phil saying in the press in the last few days that he's back training again. The players are starting to see what a good player he is. He's got that power over 5 to 10 yards to beat a man. Exciting that he's going to be back in the reckoning in January when the restrictions on the 25-man squad are lifted.
Yeah, I'm pleased for him, because it's horrible when you're in a long-term injury. He was absolutely key in that season, at that League Two season, and then at the start of the League One season as well, he started really well. Really important goals, scored those really, you know, he doesn't score huge amounts, but he just nicks a goal when it's important, when you need one, and he's going to be buzzing to be back out on the grass with the team first and foremost, but he adds a little bit of quality in there as well, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him back in a Wrexham shirt soon if we can.
So Blackburn Rovers, a team who've become regulars in the Championship over the last 8 years. But as some of you will remember well, they were Premier League champions as recently as 1995, the period when Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United were regular lifters of that trophy. There came a buck in the trend under Kenny Dalglish. Kevin Gallagher, Alan Shearer, Chris Sutton, Colin Hendry, Tim Flowers and all the rest became forever legends around the environs of Ewood Park for that outstanding achievement. They led the league for most of the season and ultimately got over the line despite losing on the final day to Liverpool. Well, Kevin Gallagher was one of those Premier League winners. He's here today and I had the chance to catch up with Kevin, both to reminisce about those days and initially to get his update on how Blackburn's season is playing out so far. And thanks so much for taking time to join us on Match Day Live today. You follow Blackburn Rovers week in, week out. Just give us an overview of how the season's gone so far.
This season's been very up and down. You know, the manager's bringing players in, trying to get them established playing together. And it's been pretty difficult for them. You know, one game's a good game, next game's a bad game. And it's the consistency of being like that has been it. At home, we've not been as hard to beat as we probably would like to be. Away from home has been a different kettle of fish. We're up there with the best and we're getting results away from home. So at the moment, his system and his style of football is actually suiting us better away from home than being at Ewood Park.
Why do you think it is that can happen with a team, Kevin, that they become so much better away from home? Is there a sense of pressure at home, do you think, or is it just that there's a licence to play differently?
I think a little bit of both. I think the pressure at home, because you've got the home fans here hearing the stories from the away fans of how good you are, and then you turn in poor performances at home. The players show nervousness. They don't really want to play at home because it's a bigger crowd. Away from home it's easier. You're playing with hostility. You don't worry about your fans until you score goals and celebrate, and that's the thing. And sometimes players don't like the sort of pressures. You've got to overcome it if you want to become the best players, and the best players can handle it really well. So this lot are kind of new to the Championship, shall we say. They're new to understanding the Championship and how hard it is. So they're still getting a slow understanding, but I just think the longer the season goes, they need to start winning at home as well.
7th place finish last season, bottom half at the moment, largely due to that home form, Kevin. Give us a sense of perspective from Rovers fans. Do they still feel that this is a squad that can challenge for a playoff place?
I think it's 50-50, Chris. 50% of the fans think they can. 50% of the fans have gone the other way. You know, they're going into the negative side. I think they've all got to come together and believe that they can finish as high as they can. And I think it's the understanding that we once had a history of Premier League football. We don't have that now. We're a Championship side, probably mid-table and above, and producing that would be fantastic. Getting to the playoff sections is where Blackburn are really punching above the weight. If we can get there and get that opportunity, as other clubs have done and gone into the Premier League, yeah, to me you take it. So if you can get your best shout, this season we've slipped down the table, we've gone in the opposite direction, and to go the opposite direction, you see the reaction in 50% of the fans. So you need to, on the grass, get the results right, and especially at home, because that's where the majority see you. And if they can get the results right, the confidence comes back within the supporter, and then it's all hunky-dory and happy faces.
Like Wrexham, Kevin, ownership abroad for Blackburn Rovers with the Venky's family in India. It hasn't always been the most harmonious relationship with the club and potentially the supporters. How are things at the moment?
Well, as you said, when you're not doing well, there's a rumbling, and there always is. Unfortunately, the club, we don't have the finance that we once had. The owners are putting money behind the club and keeping it stable and running it as a day-to-day business, which is keeping Blackburn Rovers going. So we can't complain about that. We've spent some money this year on players, so there is money available. We've had to sell players, but that's the way the strategy has come at Blackburn now. It's becoming get the academy, put the money behind a Category 1 academy, so it's still very much so that. Get the players in there, develop them into good championship players, if not better. Adam Wharton's the example. You get them into the Premier League, you sell them for money with sell-on clauses, and that's, I think, the future for Blackburn Rovers, and that's the way it's looking at the moment.
Looking at this afternoon's game, who do you think Wrexham need to be most aware of in terms of the threats in the Blackburn ranks?
I think the thing about Blackburn is we're missing about 5 or 6 players that are key, and Todd Cantwell's been very, very key, industrious to what we've done. Todd went out the side, the manager changed it, went 2 up front, Ohashi and Good Johnson, and they started scoring goals. So there was a kind of change of personnel in there, and the counter-attacking system suits the 2 forwards as well. So the way we're going, so for me it's more about the 2 strikers. They've had a lot of chances, but they're not scoring as many goals as the chances, and I think it's only a matter of time that they'll start doing that.
You were, of course, a striker for Rovers yourself, Kevin, a Premier League winner back in '95. If you cast your mind back to that season under Kenny Dalglish and breaking Manchester United's then stranglehold on the Premier League, 30th anniversary this year, of course, what comes back into mind the most?
Oh, for everything. I'd 8 good years at Blackburn. I started at the club when it was very similar to here at Wrexham. The stadium, we had one stand at the back, the Blackburn end, or the Darwin end at the time, was down. So you come to and you think, oh, this is a rebuild, and then it starts building, you start seeing it develop. We developed very, very quickly. That was the difference. We developed basically nearly overnight. They got promoted to the Premier League 92-93 when I joined at the end of that season, because Alan Shearer went out with his cruise ship. We finished the season 4th to Man United, and that was the awakening, because everybody then looked at Blackburn Rovers and thought, wow, they're challenging Man United and Arsenal. They look sort of a team that are hungry for it. The next season we gave it our best shot, we finished 2nd, so it was always going to get better. Unfortunately for myself, I broke my leg, and we went out, brought Chris Sutton in, and then with the SAS up front, and they were phenomenal. The goals that scored, the way the team played, we played for them up front anyway, so it was phenomenal. We go on and we take that title off Man United. It was a nervous time, it was a great time, don't get me wrong, it was nervous, but I think we were still celebrating it 2 years later, and unfortunately 3 years later I think we ended up back in the Championship, so it wasn't so good. But the times, that 4 or 5 years we had in that Premier League at that time was just unbelievable, and just seeing it grow from nothing to something, and not only something, but you've got people like Kenny Dalglish there. Jack Walker was the benefactor behind it all, and then unfortunately I think it was a millennium. Jack unfortunately passed away, and things were changing at the football club, and things have got different. But the unfortunate side, we've not been able to get back to the dizzy heights in the last few years, and hopefully in the next couple of years we might get a team together and we might get back there.
Well, we'll certainly be keeping a close eye on that, Kevin. Just before we let you go, score prediction this afternoon?
Oh, it's my head and my heart. I'm terrible. Sometimes I'll say I'll sit in the fence. I don't. I always go for a Blackburn win. I watched Wrexham the other week, and when they look a little bit feisty and things, they look like they can get in about you. It'll be very interesting what Blackburn can put out today, but I think I've still got to go for an away win. I've still got to go where my heart feels with Blackburn, and say we can come here to Wrexham and go home with 3 points.
Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. Fantastic to have you with us today on Matchday Live.
No, thanks for having me, Chris. Thank you.
Premier League winner Kevin Gallagher giving us his assessment of Blackburn Rovers then and now ahead of this afternoon's Sky Bet Championship match, which kicks off in just under 14 minutes time. Andy, it really was some achievement, wasn't it, from that Blackburn team in '95 to break what was really a Manchester United dynasty through that period of the 90s.
Yeah, definitely. They were bankrolled a little bit, and they had the best striker in the country, possibly the world at the time, Alan Shearer. You know, that does help. But the achievement to go above a United team that was so strong, it's in the realms of the Leicester City that happened 20 years on. Maybe not just quite to that fantasy, but a huge achievement and one that, you know, not many people thought was possible when those juggernauts of teams were fighting out at the top.
Mia, in recent seasons, Wrexham fans, of course, have enjoyed the ascent of the club and back to back. If you were a Blackburn fan, perhaps a relatively young Blackburn fan in '95, the trajectory you've followed has been pretty much the reverse of that, hasn't it? It's been relegation to the Championship, relegation again to League One before they got themselves back again, but a team who very much peaked at that time. How does that change, do you think, the psychology of a supporter, knowing that your club have had greatness not that long ago, but seeing them not at the levels that they were able to hit in the not too distant past?
Yeah, it's just the reality of it, really, isn't it? You know, that can happen to you as a club, whether you're right at the very top or near the bottom, and can climb the leagues, and that's what everyone wants to believe in, the fact that is a possibility. And obviously we've seen that here, and like Andy says, bankrolling helps. Having that injection of money and cash absolutely does contribute a big factor. But I mean, growing up as a Wrexham fan like I did, it felt year on year, maybe apart from the almost year with you and your lot, that it was never going to happen, that we were always going to remain in that National League, or if not worse, go below. So you sort of feel for them Blackburn fans, but that's the reality. But then part of that then makes the successes and the victories all the more sweeter when they do come round.
Well, one man who has made the transition from Blackburn to Wrexham is Dom Hyam. He skippered Blackburn on that FA Cup occasion we reminded you of, which occurred a couple of years ago, but he's now very much settled in red, a player who has impressed in that super tight defensive unit in recent weeks. And Dom's been on press conference duty looking ahead to today's game.
Dom, good to see you. Another positive result and performance the other night, and another clean sheet as well. How impressive has that run been lately? Yeah, really good result and performance. Been really happy with the form as of late. We've shut a lot of teams out, and it's a lot of hard work that's come from the training pitch to start with, that we've taken into the game. So feeling good. Momentum's good at the minute, but there's another test around the corner tomorrow. Yeah, you mentioned the test. Blackburn, they've had a really strong away form this season. I mean, what do you make of them? Yeah, good. Definitely away from home. They've been, I think they're right up there, first or second in the league. So we know it's going to be a tough game. They've got some tricky players that can hurt teams. So another game that we'll be prepared for and try and get maximum points. And that said, obviously your own form here has been magnificent recently, unbeaten in 6 here, and obviously winning 4 in a row in the league. You've got to be confident yourselves. As good as they've been away from home, you've been equally good at home. Yeah, that's what we spoke about quite a lot recently. Is any team that wants to do well and push up the leagues is got to have a good solid home form. We've done that recently, and hopefully we can continue that. But like I said, tomorrow's another test. We've got a good home form, they've got a good away form, so it makes for an interesting game. And in terms of the clean sheet record, I mean, 4 in a row at this level, yourself, that's a really difficult ask. How impressive an achievement is that? Yeah, it's really good. We're really happy. It's one of them that I think while we're in it, we're not really thinking about it too much. We want to get the next one, it gives us a solid foundation to work off. If we keeping a clean sheet, then we're going to get some points out of the game. So it's a lot of hard work, and it's not just down to the back 5 or 6. It starts from the front. So all happy with it, and long may that continue.
Last time Blackburn and Wrexham met, I'm used to in the Blackburn teams that FA Cup tie. Do you remember much about that night? I remember it being a cold sort of January, February game at Ewood Park, wasn't it? I think Wrexham went 1-0 up and Andy Cannon scored. It's good memories, and I remember it being a packed away end as well with the Wrexham fans. So it'd be interesting to see it from the other side now. You mentioned that support, just how impressed have you been with it in recent weeks, with the midweek games under the floodlights here as well?
Oh, it's massive. I think the gaffer said in one of his previous interviews that can really drive us on, if and when games are tight or there's not much in it, and we could just hear the atmosphere building, and it's a good feeling to have, especially when there's no real momentum changes. So yeah, it could kick us on, and hopefully that can help us get some points.
Wrexham centre-back Dom Hyam on press conference duty this week. He retains his place on the left-hand side of Wrexham's back three this afternoon. 8 minutes or so to kick off. Andy, Dom Hyam has been terrific since his arrival, and you've been keeping a particularly close eye on the correlation between his appearances and Wrexham's results. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's that difficult to see that since he's played his 11 games that we've really turned a corner and stopped conceding goals. I think it's he's only lost probably one game, Stoke away, would be the only loss that he's had, and we've just stopped. We've got one of the best defensive records as well around since he's come in, and that first 6 games before him were a little bit more tricky, and for me he's been the standout signing. He's not the big name that came in, and it was the last day of the window that he did come in, but I think he's had the biggest impact on this team so far. Not to say that others won't have that impact for the rest of the season, but for me so far he's had the biggest impact.
He also, Mia, is a player who seems to be very available. For Blackburn last year, he didn't miss a minute in any competition. I know, talking to Blackburn fans, they feel they've not replaced him since he came here in the summer, and now he's settled in at left centre-back. You've got someone who's a left footer in Callum Doyle, who's having to be very patient to get his chance. And the fact that Lewis Brunt is unavailable, it just gives Phil Parkinson that extra option, knowing he can be deployed there and play that role just as well as the central centre-back position.
Yeah, it's such a great attribute to have, that sort of just reliability of his fitness, and it's not like he's going into these games and he's not getting in those tussles and those physical battles, because he absolutely is. That's one of his biggest quality of strengths in that back line for Wrexham. So it's remarkable how sort of fit he is and how he is playing every minute for this club at the moment, like he did for Blackburn last season, and that shows, we could see that from before we signed him, looking at that stat showing, well, this guy's going to be a real top player if he's played every single minute in the Championship last season. There's not many that can boast that statistic, so he's been immense. I totally echo what Andy said. I think he's been fantastic. I think he's brilliant for someone like Max to be alongside. We know how much Max is a bit of a sponge, how much he can absorb from these sort of players, and I think that back three at the moment, like we touched on with Dan Scarr before, are just working and collaborating perfectly together.
We'll be hearing today at half-time from newly appointed academy manager Gus Williams, who's also got a past connection with Dom Hyam, so make sure you return. Same link on YouTube at half-time as we catch up with Gus. Building up to kick-off now, then let's just have a quick look at today's fixtures, because of course in the Championship we've already had a clutch of games at lunchtime today, and one last night where Oxford United picked up 3 very valuable points at home to Ipswich with a 2-1 win. That certainly helped ease their relegation concerns. Leicester City today fought back hard against Sheffield United, but it's another defeat for the men from the King Power Stadium. Sheffield United continuing to improve under Chris Wilder. Portsmouth beaten again, they're really slipping at the moment. Bristol City picking up the points, and Stoke beaten at home by Hull. A bit of a surprise, that one, Mia, with Stoke going so well. Yeah,
I think there's 2 really good examples in there of that Oxford win and the Hull win, that you just can't predict this league at all. I know Hull are right up there, a bit surprisingly, really. I think I looked a few days ago at that league and saw them doing really well in terms of form as well. Obviously we've got them in a couple of weeks or so in that midweek fixture, so that could prove itself to be a really tasty tie.
Andy Meir, thank you very much as ever. Pre-match today, Andy and Meir will be back with me at half-time and full-time. They will, of course, be on commentary throughout the game. So if you've not yet got your iFollow pass, head to wrexhamafc.co.uk/live, and Andy Amir will be joining up as ever with Mark Griffiths. So the players are just about ready to leave the tunnel. Wrexham trying to go back-to-back with league wins for the first time this season. 4 straight victories here at the Stoke Kairas. Can they make it 5 against Valerie Ismail's Blackburn Rovers? Statistically, the second best team away from home in this division, but who are currently struggling in the lower half and beset by injuries today. Wrexham with an opportunity, you'd sense, but no point in the Championship is ever easily earned. Please come back and join us then at half-time with all the reaction to the first half and the half-time stats, with Gus Williams joining us to talk a little bit about his new role, and we'll be back, of course, at full-time with all the post-match reaction and interviews from the Wrexham camp. We look forward to you joining us then. Bye for now.
Ball's gone for Blackburn, number 13, number 11, Henry Dickinson. minute of when all the four officials indicated there will be a minimum of 1 minute at a time. That's 1 minute. Bydd y gêm nesaf ar y Stoke Caerhas ar y chweched ar y trydydd ar ddeg o Ragfyr yn erbyn Watford gyda'r kick gyntaf am 3 o'r gloch. The reminder the next home game here at the Stoke Caerhas is on December 13th when Watford are the visitors for our Sky Bet Championship match which kicks off at 3 p.m.
Message for WM Low. WM. Right, Stuart, thank you.
We ask that all support themselves with their row and seat number. Those of you who are here on Wednesday will.
Half-time at an increasingly damp Stoke Caerhas, and it's been a damp squib for Wrexham in the first half because it's Wrexham 0, Blackburn Rovers 1. A beautifully taken 13th minute header from Andre Gudjonsson. The difference between these two sides at the interval. Blackburn have belied their lowly league position and shown why they're so good on their travels with a strong first half performance. The goal was nicely worked down the right-hand side. Ryan Alebiosu getting away, finding a bit of space, lifting up a deep cross, and Andre Gudjonsson with excellent technique managing to head the ball back across Arthur Okonkwo and give Rovers the lead. In truth, it was thanks to Dom Hyam's excellent block from Morishita that Wrexham weren't further behind. The home team have struggled to find the rhythm that we so enjoyed on Wednesday night. The best opportunity, a deep cross from Ryan Longman, which James McLean headed narrowly over the bar. But work to do for Parkinson's side. They trail by 1-0 at the interval. Mia Roberts and Andy Morell have been on co-commentary. Mia, how have you seen it?
Yeah, tough. I thought Wrexham started okay, to be fair, and it was just, well, as the game's gone on, it's just sort of felt like that last bit hasn't quite clicked in terms of getting that ball into the box and timing it right. But yeah, they just don't look right, you know, especially after they conceded. I thought that maybe shook them a little bit. Obviously, we haven't conceded in the last 4, so that's something to obviously take into account, and that's certainly a different test for this side. But yeah, I just thought there was a little bit of sort of unsureness in what they were doing at times, you know, a little bit lack of communication, that sort of second doubt in themselves in moments when Blackburn have just been absolutely on it. I thought Adam Forshaw in that middle has been superb. I think he's done a really good job in that middle of the park. Just a few times where I don't necessarily think we've been playing bad balls out from the back three, particularly Dan Scarr. I think it's been caught out a couple of times, but not necessarily because the ball's been wrong, but because we just haven't been anticipating it as much as the Blackburn Rovers players, and that's just something where we've been caught out in the middle of the park. And Rovers have been so good on that transition as well when they have won it back. Obviously that's what the goals come from the counter-attack, and we just haven't been able to deal with that at all, which is unlike this side.
Andy?
Yeah, I just think we've been on our heels a little bit. A couple of times when a few passes have come in, we're waiting rather than meeting the ball, if you like, and being really positive. Yeah, I think the goal has shook us a little bit, and a bit disappointed. It's a really good goal, by the way, because the cross is fantastic. It's left up there, and Good Johnson, he doesn't even really try and head it. He just lets it hit him, and he just re-diverts it the opposite side as Arthur comes across. He can't stop his momentum, if you like, and it's a really good finish. But yeah, final third, we've not really caused them much problems either. I think there's a few that maybe feel in the 2 games, you know, now. I expect to see changes. I think we might see a Ryan Barnett. I think we might see a George Dobson coming in just to give us something. Josh Windass may come on. He might change it a little bit, might go to the box in midfield. But I feel he's got to do something a little bit different now to just take the game and really put a bit of pressure on this Blackburn back three.
Let's take a look at the statistics then of that first half and see the story that they tell us. Wrexham have certainly got work to do, as Andy mentions there, and decisions for Parkinson and Parkin to make at half-time. We can see on the stats that Wrexham have had the majority of the possession. Well, we thought that would be the case. Blackburn comfortable without the ball away from home. But Mia, look at that stat there. 6 shots from Blackburn, just the 1 from Wrexham. It proves you don't need the ball as much as your opponents if you can use it better.
Absolutely not, and you know we have had a lot of the ball, but not necessarily in the right areas. And I think you know that's the difference. I think there's been a few moments, like I say, prior that we have been able to work it well outside. There was a few minutes where we had some really good possession and we're working it really well into the final third. You know, just on that 1-touch, 2-touch sort of stuff in those triangles, which we see so often from this Wrexham side. And it just didn't seem to be clicking, you know, in terms of making that final ball into the box or to put it in an area where you can get that shot off. And that's the final bit. That's the sort of key to unlocking Blackburn, isn't it, obviously? And we just haven't been able to do that in that first half. And I totally agree with Andy. I think it's screaming out for someone like a George Dobson or George Thomason to really take this game by the scruff of the neck in that middle of the park.
I think you've got to say congratulations to Blackburn as well, because their counter-attacking has been so good. The front four is so quick to join in with play. The wing-backs are really going, and the back three are comfortable when they do that. They're happy for as many bodies to go forward as they can, and it's so sharp with their passing in and around the box, looking for little 1-2s. You know, they've been really, really good, and it's a perfect away performance at the moment for them.
Blackburn certainly looking lively. Let's have a little look at the defensive statistics to see the insights that data gives us. But as Andy said, the style of play for Blackburn, moving forward quickly on the break. Their 2 Japanese attacking players, Ohashi and Morishita, involved. Good Johnson dropping deep and setting them going. The tackles one is pretty much even Steven, more Blackburn interceptions. Wrexham doing better in the air, as is often the case. But as Mia was saying, it's about what you do with the ball when you've got it. And at the moment, Wrexham struggling to ask too many questions of the Blackburn defence. Certainly something for Phil Parkinson to ponder. He's got an informed side, unbeaten in 7 with 4 straight wins here. They found formulas in previous games, but they're going to have to find one today if they're going to keep that run going. Well, a recent appointment at the club has been that of Academy manager Gus Williams rejoining Wrexham from the FAW. We hope to get Gus on the show in a future Matchday Live to talk to him in a bit more length about his vision and plans ahead. But I did have the chance to catch up with him briefly yesterday to get a bit of a flavour of how he's settled back into the club and learn a little bit more about the past relationship he's had with one of Wrexham's current players.
It's been fantastic, to be honest. A tremendous club, an iconic club. Coming back, there was no hesitation. The role absolutely encapsulated everything that I wanted in another role, moving from the FAW. It has everything about it. It's a club that we know. It's been fantastic, to be honest. A tremendous club, an iconic club. Coming back, there was no hesitation. The role absolutely encapsulated everything that I wanted in another role, moving from the FAW. It has everything about it. It's a club that we know so well in the area. Globally now, of course, it has a name. But equally, the important thing for me was that it's Wrexham. It's Wrexham AFC. It's Joey's club. It's the club of the heart of North Wales. And coming back here and seeing the opportunity, the scope that's available, the support and the drive and the intent from the CEO, Michael Williamson, and the owners, Rob and Ryan, is immense. The foundations are in place for growth.
And in that context, Gus, what do you hope to achieve as the Academy manager now?
Well, initially, of course, we're in a period of transition, and we want to move that transition into a period of stability and then into a phase of rhythm where everything becomes a flow to all the staff. The programme becomes a flowing mechanism across all departments. But the primary objective of every academy is to develop players for the first team, of course. But ultimately, you underpin and caveat that with developing young, good people and players, equip them for the life outside, whether it's football or any area of industry that they pursue in their careers, if they do not make it at Wrexham Football Club, knowing that they have all the tools required to succeed in life, and that their nurturing and their grounding happened at Wrexham AFC.
And this afternoon, there's an opportunity for you to keep an eye from a bit of a distance today on a player who you've recruited before for another club, but who now is proudly wearing red. Tell us about your history with Dom Hyam.
Yes, it's a small world. It's even smaller in the world of football, of course, as we all know. I went into Blackburn as head of player recruitment in the summer window, bang in the summer window of 2022, in the middle of it all. And one of our first signings, one of our first captures was Dom Hyam, a colossus of a centre-half from Coventry City. The sporting director at the time was Greg Broughton, and Jon Dahl Thomason was the manager. And he had all the attributes that our player profile was looking for in that position. In addition to, of course, the leadership skills that he had on and off the pitch. He served Blackburn very well. And when I see him play for Wrexham now, I'm so pleased that he's at Wrexham because he's got stability, calmness, composure. He's robust. He's happy to throw himself at the ball, but equally he can play out the back, and he can deliver the long balls, as he did the other night. That long ball into the feet of Jimmy McLean, which resulted in the goal for Nathan Broadhead. So a few weeks ago, when I was in the car park at Collier's, and it was one of my first couple of days actually, and who walks past but Dom. And it was nice really to have that reconciliation, you know, of identifying each other. Wow, you're here. Yeah. But a fantastic, first and foremost, person, and a really good footballer, and a great acquisition for Wrexham Football Club.
Wrexham Academy manager Gus Williams joining us on Match Day Live. The players are out for the second half. Wrexham with work to do then. Wrexham 0, Blackburn Rovers 1. Join us at full time, same link on YouTube, to get all the post-match reaction. We'll see you then.
Substitution for Wrexham, leaving the field, number 27, Lewis O'Brien. He's been replaced by number 10, Josh Windass. Leaving the field, number 18, Ben Sheep. He's been replaced by number 15, George Dobson. Leaving the field, number 24, Dan Scarr. He's been replaced by number 2, Callum Doyle. Substitute for Wrexham leaving the field, number 7, James McLean. He's been replaced by number 20, Barney. Leaving the field for Blackburn, leaving the field, number 25, Yoya Marishta. He's been replaced by number 18, Axel Henriksen. And leaving the field, number 23, Yuki Iwahashi. He's been replaced by number 14, Dian Deneva. Substitution for Wrexham leaving the field, number 37, Matty James. He's been by number 28, Sam Smith. Leaving the field for Blackburn, number 28, Adam Forshaw. He's being replaced by number 24, Musa Barachi. swyddogol wedi dynodi gyda'r lle am symwch. Munud ychwanegol, the fourth officials indicated there will be a minimum of 5 minutes. Added time, that's 5 minutes. Dominic Hyam out arbennig. Heno back over your fantastic support. Please get a score for Stoke Cyrus. Wrexham 1, Blackburn 1. Here again, that's over the Stoke Cyrus. Ar y chweched, ar y trydydd ar ddeg o Ragfyr yn erbyn Watford. Gyda kick gyntaf am 3 o'r goal. And a reminder the next home game here for Stoke Cyrus is on December 13th when Watford are the visitors for our Steinbet Championship match, which kicks off at 3 p.m. Top sydd over the game header, the official attendance this evening 10,643. And grateful thanks to 1,255 away fans. Stadium, Gallagher, Managerial, and inbound the Sanctuary home to all supporters. Please do take care when leaving the stadium. The club shop is open for 30 minutes after full time, and a massive thanks to Keris for her hand with the music this afternoon. We'll see you again on December 13th. Not quite that.
Full time at the Stoke Cyrus, and Wrexham have kept their unbeaten run going in the very final seconds of the game. It's finished Wrexham 1, Blackburn Rovers 1. Max Cleworth with his first goal of the season, getting the final touch after Nathan Broadhead's goal-bound shot came into his path, and Wrexham recover a point when it looked like they may be going home with nothing. Blackburn had led, of course, with that first half header from Andre Gudjonsson. Rovers struggled for much of the second to impose themselves. Wrexham in the ascendancy. Kiefer Moore going close on a couple of occasions. George Pratt on one occasion scrambling the ball off the line for Rovers, more than denied by Ainsley Pears. It looked like it could be one of those frustrating days where Wrexham threw the kitchen sink at the opposition without getting the breakthrough. But George Dobson's free kick in the 95th minute was headed back across the box by Kiefer Moore, and Broadhead's shot was turned home from a couple of yards out by Max Cleworth, and the point was salvaged. Wrexham's unbeaten run continues, but Blackburn gave them a mighty scare. Mia Roberts and Andy Morrell have recovered, I think. Mia, your reflections?
I think I pulled something in my leg celebrating.
Really?
But no, brilliant from Wrexham. I mean, to keep the pressure on like they did, but it did feel like one of those days where it just wasn't going to happen. But as the co-chairman says, never leave the racecourse ground early. We know that now, and I think we've been due one of those for a while. Andy's just mentioned the last time we've sort of had a last-minute one like that was probably Ollie Palmer against Hull in the Cup. So it sort of felt fair. I think that result in the end, you've got to give Blackburn a lot of credit. I thought they were superb today defensively, and they'll probably argue they deserved all three with that defensive performance. But from Wrexham's point of view, you've just got to keep going to the absolute death, and they did that today. And it did feel like it wasn't going to come, but cometh the hour, cometh the man. Max Cleworth in the right place at the right time. It's a brilliant brilliant free kick initially from George Dobson, great header back in from Kiefer Moore. That's what we know he can do so well. And then Nathan Broadhead just make that right connection, put it back in there, and it's always going to cause problems. And Max Cleworth, I don't know what part of his leg it's hit, but
doesn't matter much.
It doesn't matter. It's hit the back of the net, and that's all we care about.
Andy, Phil Parkinson, you said at our half-time chat, needed to make alterations in the second half. He certainly made a number of those, deploying all 5 of his available substitutes by the end. By the end of the game, we had Smith, Windass, Broadhead and Moore all on. I guess defensively for Blackburn, it's always going to be pressure on pressure, and for them frustrating, they just couldn't quite hold out.
Yeah, I think he had to do something. We needed a spark somewhere in there with about half an hour, 35 minutes to go, and he did that, and he put them on, and he just kept putting on forward players and taking off defensive minded ones. And fair play to him, because sometimes you can be a bit piecey, keep the same tactics and go with different personnel, but he's gone with Windass and Broadhead and Moore and Smith and just chuck the kitchen sink at it. And sometimes you have to, and I think sometimes a draw can feel like a win, and that certainly feels like. They heard the noise at the end of the game to the fans and to the players. It keeps that unbeaten run going, and I think that's a huge point for us, and a great November.
Yeah, it does complete an excellent month's work, Andy, doesn't it? And Mia, having that unbeaten run now stretch out to 8 games, this pattern is just continuing to repeat. Win, draw, win, draw, win, draw, win, draw. And that's a great pattern if you can keep it going.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially when you're going into the busy period that Christmas always is, and you want to get into those habits. Obviously, the disappointing thing will be from that form, as good as it has been, we just haven't had that back-to-back win, which we spoke about at the top of the show, and we thought maybe today could be the day where we make that happen. And then, like I say, you just fall into them habits, then you become used to winning, and it feels that little bit easier maybe because it's just happening for you. And I think they'll be disappointed with some of the performances in there, especially from that first half. I think when they look back on it in the week, but to come away with it with that point, the momentum that gives you as a group, especially in the dying, members of that game as well, is huge. And they've now got a week to prepare for Preston.
I think the crowd were excellent as well, because they gave them the lift that they needed in that second half when you're a bit tired, or you're thinking, this is just going to be one of those days. The crowd, with half an hour to go, they got right behind them. A couple of runs forward by Moore got the crowd going, and a couple of passes. That's what we need here, because sometimes it's not the players that can lift them, it's something that the crowd can do. And by the end, you heard the noise. It was brilliant.
Yeah, anyone who did leave the racecourse early, I'm sure will be disappointed that they did. There were quite a few I could see making their way out in injury time, perhaps thinking this wasn't going to be Wrexham's day. But as Mia rightly mentions, you should never leave the racecourse early. And Max Cleworth giving yet another dividend to that argument. Let's have a look at the statistics then over the 90 minutes and see how those all broke down, because it was certainly an eventful game here at the Stoke Kairas this afternoon. Blackburn coming out hard in the first half, having the better of it, getting themselves into the lead. We saw at half-time that Wrexham had the majority of possession, and that continued and developed further in the second half. I think at half-time here, Wrexham had 1 shot and Blackburn 6, and you can see at the end, 16 shots for Wrexham and 12 for Blackburn Rovers. So that really was Wrexham on the front foot in that second half.
Yeah, and it was always going to be, I think, obviously, like with the changes Phil Parkinson made, having Windass on the pitch, Smith on there as well, alongside Broadhead and Moore, you're going to see that. But, only 2 shots on target as well, so it's not like we were really peppering Pears' goal either. But we found that moment, and that's all that matters. I think going forward that, they're going to have to look at, why weren't we able to create more shots on target? And that's something, we spoke a bit about it at half-time in terms of those balls into the box and finding that room. Listen, I think, again, you have to give a lot of credit to Blackburn. I thought every time you thought there was maybe a moment where it landed in front of Broadhead or Windass, in their sort of shooting range, which is pretty much, goes quite far outside that area, doesn't it? But Blackburn players, just committing everything to get their bodies in front of it and not let Pears be troubled.
I think Blackburn will be disappointed to go away here with only a point.
Definitely.
I think their away form has been sensational, like we've said. But to be 1-0 up and to have had 2 or 3 really good chances as well to put it to bed, the game. And Arthur's made a save. There's been a really good block by Max in the first half. I think they'll be disappointed that they've only got a point, because I thought their game plan, how they executed it was excellent today.
Yeah, because as you say, Andy, although Wrexham were in the ascendancy for much of the second half in terms of possession and had some clear chances themselves, the one you mentioned in particular when Ahashi burst into the box, good save by Arthur, it comes back to Good Johnson. He's surely got to be scoring from there, hasn't he? And he puts the ball over the bar. 2-0 then, round about the hour mark, it's a long way back.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I think they'll be disappointed and why it's such a good point from somewhere. How we've dug that out, I do not know. Yes, we've had a lot of possession. We haven't really carved them open at all at that end, but you find a way. Somehow they find a way, this group, and they've done that for the last 11, 12 games at the moment.
Mia, when you get on an unbeaten run like Wrexham are on, does that have some weighting, do you think, even when you go deep into injury time, knowing we're not used to losing? We'll find a way. We're not quite sure how we will, but we'll just get this done?
I think it definitely does. I think we've heard players, over the last few years under Phil Parkinson, who, some obviously not here anymore. I'm not sure if it was Stephen Fletcher who, when he arrived, was sat on the bench, and I think Wrexham were, one down in a game, and it was about 85th minute, and the substitute next to him just turns to him and says, "Oh no, we'll go on to win this. This is quite normal." And you do get in that mentality where, if you've got that confidence in the group that we're good enough to do it, even in the 85th, 88th, whatever it may be, and it gives you that confidence to think, no, we'll still make chances, and some teams heads will go down, and mentality is such a huge part to this team and has been over the last few years.
And also, Andy, when Mark Howard was with us on the show and you were on your holidays, one of the points he made was going towards that Stoke cold brew coffee end. It just gives you that little bit of a lift, like the ball's being sucked in, and when you're desperate and you're thinking, is it not going to be our day, that can make a huge difference too.
Yeah, well, I played here when the Kop was full, and they certainly did suck the ball in when we were kicking this way, but that the tech end at the moment is our Kop, and they are exactly that. It makes a big difference when you're kicking towards fans who are desperate for that ball to go in, and they just literally inhale the ball to get into that net, and you can feel their frustrations today off not being exactly where we were at in standards wise, but the desperation to still get something out of the game right to the very end. And like I said, they really G'd the boys on to go to the very end.
Let's take a quick look at the defensive statistics then from this afternoon's game as we conclude the statistical review of how Wrexham continued this unbeaten run. If you're just joining us on Matchday Live, recovering from one down deep in stoppage time with that 95th minute Max Cleworth equaliser. Blackburn having to make more interceptions. Clearance is fairly steady. Wrexham having the better of the aerial duel, 60-43. But an interesting change, I thought, Mia, in the second half when Phil Parkinson made the triple change on the hour. Windass perhaps not so much of a surprise coming on at that stage, and George Dobson equally. But he took Dan Scarr off, brought Doyle on, shifted Hyam to the middle of the back three. What was your read on that?
Yeah, I think it's, obviously Callum Doyle being able to use his left foot, and we know his ability in terms of his distribution. I think I said it at half time, I didn't think Dan Scarr was necessarily to blame, or any of the back three really, in terms of their passing out from the back. I thought it was more on the midfielders and attackers in front of them who were just on their heels a bit and weren't anticipating. I thought the pace on pretty much each ball they played in was good, but I think Phil Parkinson has just read the game and said, listen, there's got to be a change here. And Callum Doyle, as soon as he came on, was doing that, making those balls stick and playing those ones over the top that maybe Dan Scarr just hasn't quite got in his locker. So you can see, again, a brilliant use of this squad, and I think that's something now maybe going forward into Preston. Will that back three change? At the start of the show today we were saying, well, that's the one thing you're absolutely not changing at the moment, but is that now another question mark in his head?
I think it was just an anticipation that we were going to have the majority of the ball for the rest of that half, really, that half an hour. And Doyle is a bit more progressive with it, and the balance of him on that left-hand side being able to play and follow and cross in, it just gave us that little bit extra going forwards, and it turned out that way because I thought he was good when he came on. He was really playing forward, looking forward and progressive with his passing.
Let's have a look at the other results around today then, because of course it's a full programme of Sky Bet Championship football, and we've got the chance now to see what's been happening elsewhere and how that affects the standings in the table. Well, we looked earlier at the result from last night, Oxford beating Ipswich. The lunchtime games then saw wins for Sheffield United at Leicester, Bristol City at Portsmouth and Hull at Stoke, and then Coventry Charlton was the first of the 3 o'clocks this afternoon. Coventry Coventry continuing their imperious run up to 43 points under Frank Lampard at the top of the table. They have beaten Charlton Athletic by 3-1. Middlesbrough 2, Derby 1 is a good win for Middlesbrough up in the northeast. They're still right in the picture against a Derby side who are not too far off the pace either. Norwich City reviving a little bit with a 3-1 win over the inconsistent Queen's Park Rangers. Preston North End inflicting another defeat on the strugglers Sheffield Wednesday. A good win for Paul Heckingbottom's side at Hillsborough by 3-2. West Brom prevailing over Swansea City by the same score, and Birmingham against Watford is the Monday night game. Let's have a little look at what that means then for the EFL Championship table, and we will have a look at that in just a moment. But Andy, your thoughts on the scores this afternoon? Anything stand out?
Well, we think Southampton are coming. You know, they've got their mojo back, and then they get beat today. It just proves what this league is all about, is that if you are not bang at it, you get turned over.
That's the bottom half then. Sheffield Wednesday still rooted to the bottom on -3 points after that points deduction. Portsmouth dropping into the relegation places. They are just below the waterline. 17 points from 18 games. Oxford's win last night propelling them out of the bottom three. And Sheffield United, as Andy was mentioning pre-match today, are really on a good run under Chris Wilder and his third spell with the club, starting to get themselves away from danger. No one ever expected them to be bottom three material, and the Blades starting to get going a bit now. It really looks bleak for Sheffield Wednesday, but Norwich's win will give them renewed hope. Let's have a look then at the top half, where Wrexham and Blackburn Rovers sitting there in 18th. Wrexham very much in the top half of the table. Blackburn very strong away from home, as we've commented, and continuing to impress on their travels. They just need to back it up at home. Wrexham, they're in 12th spot then, with one more game to be played this weekend tomorrow. 25 points from 18 games, but just 3 points behind Preston North End in the final playoff spot in 6th. Coventry continue to forge ahead at the top of the table, 13 clear of second placed Stoke City, who were beaten today. Middlesbrough up on Stoke's shoulder again, starting to find a second wind after leaving earlier this season. Rob Edwards moving on to Wolverhampton Wanderers, and Middlesbrough having to cope with that managerial change. But Middlesbrough right in the mix there, then a bit of a gap to some of the other sides in the chasing pack. But it continues to be a fascinating championship, Mia, as each result each week comes past, but Wrexham still very much in the mixer, looking upwards in the table.
Absolutely, that's where you want to be at the moment. I think, you know, a lot of people would have bitten your hand off to be where we are right now, especially after, you know, a bit of a difficult start that we made, and you're sort of thinking, how long is it going to take for this team to gel and for us to become a real championship sort of side that can hold their own in this league. But we're certainly showing signs of that. I think, you know, today's again another great example of this Wrexham side being able to sort of, you know, get their backs up and have to play in a different way and in tough conditions. Obviously, we saw Wednesday night, you know, played really well and you know, really just controlled that game and made it look easy at times. Well, today that wasn't the case. Blackburn made it really difficult for us, but we still come away with a point. And I think, you know, that shows the signs of a real good team in this league that can grind out points, grind out results, and will hopefully find its way, you know, further up that table.
Yeah, I think the only thing you're going to have to say this season is that Sheffield Wednesday, unfortunately, are going to be rooted to the bottom. The rest of the league, it could be anything. Do you know what I mean? We've just seen there Sheffield United. They've had 9 points in a week and gone from second bottom to like sixth bottom, seventh bottom, and they're probably looking up going, well, 2 wins will be, you know, we could be right in amongst it again. So it changes very, very quickly. Yeah.
It is certainly an ever-changing picture, and ever-changing in the studio, because Mia and Andy are stepping out. Phil Parkinson's popping in. Phil, what an incredible conclusion to the game today. What was your read on it all?
Yeah, I think we deserved a point. First half, I thought we gave the ball away too many times against a team who are a counter-attacking team. And we put ourselves under pressure just by a bit of carelessness more than anything else. And I think it was more of a half where we had to be patient against the team sitting in, and we tried to thread balls through too many times and got cut out. But you're not always at your best. You've got to accept that. It's been a busy week for us. And I thought second half we were really good. We played with a lot more composure on the ball. The subs did really well for us. Really pleased with that. And we've had some great chances before we scored to get the goal. You know, the Kiefer's had one where he's lifted it over the keeper. He's had the header where Maxi's followed it in. You know, should really score two. Brody's had that great one where Kiefer squared it to him, came at him quickly, and then we eventually get the goal. And I think if that goal had gone in 5 minutes before, we'd have gone on to win the game. But we're not going to be greedy. You know, we knew they were a hard-working, kind of structured team, and that's why they've done well away.
8 unbeaten now, this win-draw pattern continuing. If you can't win a game, then at least get something from it, and your side have yet again shown that a game is never over at Wrexham until the final whistle's blown. Yeah, I think that's good for the group as well, because, you know, Wednesday was a terrific game for us, and it doesn't always go your way either. You know, for whatever reason, we're not quite showing the quality we need to. The opposition get a goal like they did, and how are we going to respond as a group? And you know, the supporters in this stadium have seen it time and time again over the years that we never give in, and the new lads have you know, shown today about that characteristic has got to be in place, and it was, and a delight for Maxi to get the goal. Yeah, Max has obviously become a real goal-scoring centre-back for you last season, picking up the mantle from Aaron Hayden. It's his first this season. Do you think this might be a bit of a catalyst for him to go on and perhaps get a few more? Yeah, I think it will be. You know, he's a really good finisher, Max. I mean, I know that's kind of a deflected one, but it doesn't matter. You've got to be in and around it. And, you know, it's a great header back from Kiefer, and Brody has controlled the shot, which in that situation, that's where you need calmness, and he's kept it, you know, in the frame of the goal, and it's ended up in the back of the net. I'm not sure what the Blackburn lads were appealing for. I think they might have thought it was offside, but I think there's 2 or 3 players in between. Now, the Wrexham fans haven't seen more Broadhead and Windass playing as a triangle very much so far, if at all. Clearly today you were chasing the game when you made the change on the hour, but how did you think they worked as a triplicate, and is it something you'd consider again? Yeah, definitely. Listen, we've got options. It's trying to get the balance right on a game-to-game basis, and yeah, they did well. I thought Brody, you know, stuck at it. He's at 68 minutes Wednesday, played the full 90 day, and Kiefer as well. You've got to give him credit. He's come back off an injury and you know, played probably a little bit longer than anticipated on the Wednesday, and he's gone the full 90 as well. So those 3 are good. But I thought Callum Doyle was brilliant when we came on. We knew that they were blocking the inside of the pitch, and we needed a natural left footer on that side to take the game to them, and I thought he did brilliant. He just gave us what we needed, you know, driving forward from that position, and yeah, so I'm pleased with Cal. A bit of a break, at least no midweek game coming now, Phil, and then Preston away next Saturday. Will that give you and the staff the chance just to sort of stand back a little bit and reflect on this busy little period you've had, or is there no let up in the intensity? No, listen, of course, when you've had the games we've had since the international break, just the 3, then there's going to be a bit of a breather this week, because I think, you know, it is kind of relentless for everybody, but it's enjoyable as well. And we'll take a deep breath, like you say. We'll review the last few games. I've got a bit of time to do that now. But yeah, no, listen, it was a terrific response from us in the second period, and on another day we'd have gone on to win that game. Phil, thanks so much for joining us as ever. Well done on keeping that unbeaten run going. Cheers, thank you. Phil Parkinson, the Wrexham manager, joining us on Match Day Live after his side managed to maintain that unbeaten run thanks to Max Cleworth's first of the season in the 95th minute, sending the Wrexham fans out of the Stoke Kairas certainly happy. I'm sure, of course, they'd have wanted all 3 points, but it required a concerted effort in the second side to break down Valerie Ismail's team, who came here, of course, with the second best record in away form in this league, and certainly threw some punches at Wrexham in the first half, necessitating that response. Got that impression, Mia, that Phil was really chuffed to got out of that one with a point, considering what it might have been.
Yeah, I think so. I think there would have been some difficult words at half time probably, and you know, just I totally agree with what he said about that first half. I just felt the team was very disconnected, and you know, at times it was just really poor decision making, and so unlike the Wrexham we've seen over the last few weeks, which of course is allowed, and you're going to see over the season, especially with the busy period it has been. You know, that's going to creep in at times. It's about, you know, making sure that doesn't just carry on in games, and you get a hold of it quickly. And you know, I totally agree. I think the substitutions made a big difference in that game. I think the Callum Doyle one's a brave switch to make. If that doesn't work, you're going to get heavily questioned on that. But to have someone like him coming off the bench is so good. And then obviously, like you say, to see that triple attack, the triple attackers in action in terms of Windass, Moore and Broadhead is something really exciting as well. Is that something we can see more of going forward? I certainly hope so in some aspects, because I think that link up of Broadhead and Windass is something to be really excited about.
Excellent. I can see Max Cleworth is behind us. Rachel's kindly looking after him with an umbrella. Do you want an umbrella, Max? Are you coping? You can borrow mine. We can manage, I'm sure. You're going to cope, yeah. Stiff, can't even been out in the rain all afternoon, so what does it matter now? Excellent. Congratulations. Yes. First goal of the season, and a chance to send 10,000 people home happy. What was that like to play in?
Yeah, I think it was probably a bit frustrating at times in the first half. We haven't been used to conceding of late, so when obviously they take the lead, it probably shocks us a bit. I sort of need to see the goal back. I sort of know he went front post and then back post, so from a personal point of view, probably need to analyse it. I think it was a good header, but it's a frustrating one to let him sort of have a header there. And then we sort of threw everything at it. We had loads of chances, just sort of didn't think we were going to get one, and then it was nice to sort of, I'm not sure what part, I think came off my calf. Tried my best to block it, I think, and then it's gone in. So yeah, I'm glad to get off the mark this season. Don't
sell yourself short, Max. Phil's just been saying what a good finisher you are. You can't say you tried to block it when it was on its way in.
No, I've tried to get somewhere, and it came through bodies, I think, and yeah, it's ended up coming off, I think, the bottom of my calf. But I'll take it. It was we really threw everything at it, and I felt we deserved 3 points, if not definitely one, from the game. So yeah, it was nice to send the fans home with something.
We were talking just now with Phil and with Andy and Mia, Max, about the belief in the squad and the number of times we've seen in the last few years, particularly here, late Wrexham goals either salvaging draws or turning draws into wins. But when you get that deep into injury time, how do you psychologically ensure you don't get a bit desperate and kind of try too hard?
Yeah, I think it's important you don't just sort of lump it forward. And maybe we did that one or two times, but I think overall we moved it pretty well and got into the final third, and then we're putting crosses in, which was important. I think Brody, off the top of my head, Brody had one, I think Keith had one, and then I had the one off Keith's rebound, and obviously the ones in the first half. But yeah, it's important not to get too desperate, but I think as it does get towards the end of the game, you've really got to start putting crosses in the box, and they sunk deeper and deeper. And yeah, the belief in this team over the last few years has always been the same. You keep going right until the end, no matter the scoreline, no matter whether you're just fighting for a consolation or you're fighting for a point or all three. You don't give in. So, we definitely didn't do that today.
If we look at the last 3 games, Ipswich away, having to fight so hard for that point, then getting right on the front foot against Bristol City, arguably the best half an hour of the season, the first half an hour, and then today, perhaps not at your best in the first half, but then really picking it up in the second. What leads to these games feeling so different, and certainly from a supporter's perspective, the way in which the team goes about playing? What are the key drivers that change that?
I think it's sort of a bit of confidence that obviously we've gained over the last few weeks, picking up results and started a little sort of unbeaten run. I think that, pushes us, and it's important we can try and maintain that. But you have to understand that every game in this league is really hard, whether you're playing Ipswich, who just come down from the Premier League last year, or any other team. Every game's just really hard, and any team, everyone says it and it's a big cliche, but any team can beat anyone on their day. And Blackburn have been really, really good away from home this season. The gaffer made a point of it yesterday in the pre-match meeting that we can't just turn up and expect to get something from the game. And we certainly didn't do that, but when it's not going our way, we showed the belief again, and that sort of fight, which I think represents the club as a whole.
A draw today, but still in the top half of the table, moving into this middle third of the season now, and no midweek game before Preston next Saturday. Does it mean a lot to the players to see yourselves in that top half?
Yeah, we want to be high as possible. There's no shying away from that. I think the quality in that dressing room, we've certainly got enough to be right up there. So we're well into the season now. There's no sort of feeling it out. We know how hard it is. We just got to keep pushing, keep working on the training pitch, and striving every day to get better. And see where we end up.
And just finally, Max, first of the season for you today, but you scored a hatful last season. Is this going to be the start of something? Andy Morrell just doing his best Mary Poppins there.
I have my uses.
It's nice.
We found one.
A bit heavy now. Probably regretted saying no to them.
Chance to kick on, Max, with a few more goals perhaps?
Yeah, I've probably been a bit frustrated. I think, I didn't want to sort of get carried away with last season, but it would have been nice to have a few more. I've certainly had a few chances this season. When I think back at games this year where I could have scored and it's either gone the wrong side of the post or not quite made the right connection, and I probably made a terrible connection tonight and it's gone in, so that just sort of the way football goes. But yeah, hopefully I can sort of chip in with a few more until the end of the season, and yeah, as long as it's helping the team move forward, and that's all that really matters.
Max, huge thanks for coming on to Matchday Live despite the rain, and well done on your goal and chiseling out that point today.
Thank you. Cheers.
Wrexham centre-back Max Cleworth joining us on Matchday Live with a bit of assistance from his very own... I don't know what
brolly holder.
Brolly holder, there we are. The brolly holding Andy Morell, adding it to his wide range of skills as player, manager, pundit and coach. And brolly holder, Mia. Where were you in the brolly holding? Did you just summon Andy forward?
Yeah, he just wanted to get as close to Max as he could.
Wow, right. Absolutely. Fair enough. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Another great performance from Max today at the back. Mia, he's Mr. Consistent this season, and he's hardly missed a minute in the Championship. But that, I'm sure, give him a lift because goals were a big part of his game last season. The first time we've seen one this time.
Yeah, first goal from a defender, I think, for Wrexham so far in the league this season. So, that's something that as well can only help you. Once those boys start chipping in with them as well, because that's another factor in this league. If you're getting goals from all over the pitch, then that's only going to benefit you, isn't it? And like you say, we know Max certainly did that last season in League One, and he can certainly do that this year. He gets in some really good positions, and like he said, he's maybe been a bit unlucky so far this season not to actually get on the score sheet already. But only player in this side now to have started every single league game after Kiefer missed Ipswich away. So that shows his quality, and who would have thought they would have been saying that about if there was going to be one maybe over the last few years. How great is it to say it's one that's been through our academy, and I think that's such a big statement that this club can make, and hopefully there's many more like Max to come.
Yeah, but despite scoring in the equaliser in the game, I think his focus there was the goal that we conceded.
Yeah,
he goes straight to it and says, we need to have a look and analyse it because it's a front post near to back post run, if you like, and it's his side. When you look at it, and it's a good header, but he'll go, well, what could I have done a little bit differently? And that's a sign of a lad that wants to improve and focus on getting better.
No, absolutely. Yeah, being critical of his own performance, always looking to improve. Well, the Wrexham women this season have been nomadic in the early part of it as preparations have continued at the Rock to get it ready to be the home ground that Wrexham want it to be. But tomorrow is the opportunity that people have been waiting for all season. The first chance to see the Wrexham women at home at the Rock, now owned by the club, of course. And here's a bit of taster of what you might expect if you head down there at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Yes, she can! Lily Jones, 2-0 to Wrexham. And it's in! What a fabulous finish that was! And Wrexham didn't have to wait long to retake the lead. It's Sané! Knox scores her first goal for Wrexham. The Rock has certainly undergone quite some transformation over the last few weeks. Huge amounts of work done with the infrastructure and facilities, and it should be quite an occasion down there tomorrow. Tickets available either in advance or on the gate. £3 for adults, £1 for children, and there's going to be street food available and Wrexham merchandise as well. So a big effort from the club to make it a great experience to go and watch the Wrexham women's team at their very own new home. Here, it should be an exciting day for the women tomorrow against Swansea.
Yeah, it poses itself to be a really good test, and delighted for them that they've got that home now, because I think that, they haven't shown it as a weakness so far this season. They have been that good, but it's brilliant to have that for them, and obviously training there and to now be playing there, it gives you a bit extra. So that's I'm delighted for them that they've got that, and yeah, hopefully a very good win hopefully tomorrow against Swansea, and hopefully get one ahead of Cardiff.
Yeah, certainly going really well for Jenny Sugarman's side at the moment. And as for Phil Parkinson's side, Andy, next stop Preston North End next Saturday. You'll both be there, of course. And P&E going well under Paul Heckingbottom. A couple of slips of late, but a good win today, and they're right in the playoff picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I had a decent game and a trip up there already, albeit maybe second strings, I suppose, if you like, squad rotations in that game in the Cup, but it took our first teamers to get us the win over the line in the last half an hour. So, yeah, and at times they played some decent football as well. So it's going to be another incredibly difficult game, but we go there in full of confidence and with a last-minute equaliser to get another point on the board, and then let's go there and no holes barred. Let's go and take 3 points off them.
Well, Andy Mear, have a safe trip, short trip up to Deepdale on Saturday. Then it's a trip to Hull, and then we're back here for Matchday Live for the home game against Watford in a couple of weeks' time. So look forward to seeing you both then, hopefully with less need for umbrellas. All right, so Wrexham have continued their unbeaten run to 8 games. Blackburn Rovers came and gave them a real test here at the Stoke Kairas. The slogan, of course, on Blackburn's logo is a famous one, Art et Labore, translating as through skill and hard work. And for their 15 players today, they certainly demonstrated plenty of both of those things. But nil desperandum from a Wrexham perspective. They had enough to finally find their way through. At the very end, it came down to max power to ensure that Wrexham took home a point. From all of us here at the Stoke Kairas, Diolch am wylio, and we'll see you very soon. Good night.